Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, amantes del rock y del metal. Bienvenidos y bienvenidas a Conexión Rock Radio. Johnny González les saluda y como siempre les invitamos a que nos dejen su pulgar arriba y que disfruten de los invitados que tenemos acá en nuestras entrevistas de manera periódica. Hoy tenemos a una banda muy pero muy interesante que nace precisamente en la tierra de la hoja de maple. Nos referimos a en Quebec, Canadá, y que pues allá por 1981 iniciaron su carrera y que es una propuesta de thrash metal y también que combina elementos progresivos, donde la ciencia ficción, la violencia y la guerra se combinan para dar forma a una bestia llamada Voivod. Y que precisamente tengo acá a Michel Langevin, que es el baterista y por supuesto uno de los fundadores de la banda. Michel, thank you so much. Welcome to Connection Rock Radio. For me, it's a big pleasure talk to you in this evening and share with the fans from Voivod around the world about the upcoming news that the band have in 2026. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Start my interview with you in this evening. First of all, congratulations for the release on Symphonique. This is the new live album that appears in June 5 via Century Media Records. How did the original idea on creating a symphonic project with the music of Voivod? At what point did you realize it could become a full live album?
Well, it's quite a few years ago. It's probably more than 3 years ago. We were contacted by the Montreal Symphony Orchestra to play shows, and then two shows, and then we took a couple of years building the show, arranging the songs. We chose the songs that were more progressive rock oriented and that had many different parts. And so we sort of, with the arranger of the orchestra, we tried to make it sound like a soundtrack for a science fiction movie. And that was the idea. And then we in early last year we played two shows in Montreal, and then we were asked by the Quebec Symphony Orchestra to do the same thing last summer, and that's the show that we recorded. And it turned out that the symphony orchestra and the music of Voivod mixed very well at the end.
It's very interesting about the detail how was recorded this light show. I want to say to you, Michel, the Voivod's music has how we carry that cinematic and futuristic atmosphere. They performing with a full orchestra feel like a natural evolution for the band's song in this part of the history.
Yeah, we always wanted to do a soundtrack for a dystopian movie,
Mhm.
but we had songs that appeared in movies before, like Heavy Metal 2 and Universal Soldier, and but we never wrote something specifically for a movie. So it's another dream of ours, but it's we I think that with the Symphonique album we succeeded in turning the music and the lineup of songs into some sort of a movie soundtrack and a long journey. And so we had to rearrange parts of the Voivod music adapted to the orchestra, but we played with the same energy.
I want to ask to you a curious question about this live project. I don't know if you have any impressions of the band or the whole band in this case when you performing the live show with the orchestra. Uh, feeling the energy with the people, feeling the energy with the orchestra, and then mixing the final project in the studio. I don't know what are your perception. Had you any surprise when you are performing, or had you any good impression when you are mixing the album in the studio?
Well, I just remember that the shows were like a dream. I had to be very focused because as a drummer, if I miss one beat or one bar, the whole orchestra is lost. So I was very focused on Dina Gilbert, the lady who directed the orchestra, and I was watching her movements a lot. And but I could feel the sound of the whole orchestra even though we had in-ears, and we couldn't have speakers and monitors, so we all had like in-ears headphones. But I could still feel the vibration of the room and the full orchestra, and I could feel the vibe of the crowd. I put a lot of work on the visuals projected in the back of the stage, and yeah, my drawings were animated by many different artists
Mhm.
and using a different medium, and I could tell that the crowd was having quite an experience and emotional moment as well. And between the songs, they were showing it, you know. And it's funny because some of the people had like a yearly membership with the orchestra, so they were not used to metal, but everybody loved it.
Choosing songs from over 44 years on the entire career that you have over with a big discography. I want to know how difficult was it select the final set list for Symphonic, and were any songs that you really wanted to include put for some reason left out in the final set list?
We tried to cover the whole career.
Mhm.
We sort of put aside the very trashy songs like Voivod, you know, but we really wanted to play Nuclear War from the first album because we thought that with an orchestra, it could become a very scary military march, and it worked really well. And we also picked songs that already had modern composers' influences in it, like Pre-Ignition, The Unknown Knows. And back then, we were listening to a lot of um, composers like Bartok, Shostakovich, Penderecki, even some Stravinsky, and we put bits of it into our music. If some members of the orchestra could tell this is the Rites of Spring by Tchaikovsky or Stravinsky, sorry, and then so we were busted, and yeah, then once we picked the songs, we really tried to make it into some sort of journey. And of course, we wanted to try the Sid Barrett song "Astronomie Dominée" with an orchestra, and it turned out very very good.
Mhm.
And I was very impressed when I heard the final mix because every single musician of the orchestra had a microphone, so there were a lot of leaks from the brass sections to the percussions and all that. And at first, it was pretty muddy, but Francis Perron, who's been doing the albums with us for the past 10 years or more, he did a very good job at isolating everything, and we can really hear every single musician of the orchestra and every member of Voivod as well. So I'm pretty impressed with the sound.
Quick parenthesis. I know that the album appears in CD and vinyl and digital. I don't know if you previously, you and the rest of the band, are you contemplated in a first idea, uh, recording and shooting live in a kind of DVD show, like example.
Yeah, we were hoping to document it visually as well and film it, but it's just out of our range financially because you have to pay the union tens of thousands of dollars and to have it filmed and to have the rights clear and so we decided to just record the audio in Quebec City, which cost tens of thousands of dollars. So, but the reaction to the first single, "Forgotten in Space," was really amazing, and I'm sure we're gonna recoup the investments, you know.
Mhm.
We only had one restriction. We couldn't go over 90 minutes because if you do so, then it's a lot of extra money to pay to the orchestra. So we kept it under like around 75 minutes or so.
The audience, the reaction for the people to this performance seems incredibly positive. What
Yeah.
was it like seeing the long time Boy fans experience the band in such a different musical setting?
I think that people were quite blown away with not only the musical aspect, but also all the projections behind, which were really sci-fi, and they were made with different medium by very talented people. Some used traditional animation, other used CGI, 3D animation. There were a bit of AI, and so all that combined was like a long futuristic trip, and we could tell that everybody was flabbergasted. And also, there were a few moments, like all the like both orchestras really enjoyed the experience as well because they're used to people clapping, and but for us it was a big roar. And at one point, at the second concert in Montreal, people started chanting the conductor's name, Dina, Dina. So she really liked it. And there were another I think it was in Quebec City, I think at one point where the crowd went, "Hey, hey, hey," in a song, and the conductor was like, "Thank God your public is right on time and on the beat," because and so it was a few moments like that where and so I spoke to the members of the orchestra, and everybody really enjoyed it. And I went to check the percussion section, and I was pretty amazed with all the things they were all the different percussions they were using throughout the performance. It made it really sound rich.
Working with this character, and of course Hugo Begin and the Montreal and Quebec Symphonic Orchestras must has been a kind of unique experience. What did you personally learn for collaborating with musicians from the classical world into the metal proposal from Voivod?
Well, we worked for a couple of years with Dina to make sure that we had many cues where we will look at each other, and then because there are so many breaks in the Voivod music, that we had to develop a technique of with gestures and just looking at each other at specific times. And so I learned a lot from her, and it's amazing that somebody would could direct 70 symphony orchestra musicians and
Mhm.
the whole band of Voivod together from A to Z without getting lost. It's really amazing. It takes a lot of knowledge. So I learned a lot from her. Chewy is a lot more versed in because he teaches jazz at college. So he was very closely helping Hugo, the arranger. But yeah, so it was such work with Dina and Hugo that we made sure to do the same exact show in Quebec City, and we used the same conductor, Dina. And early next year, we're going to northern Quebec, where Voivod formed in 1983. We're going to play the same show with the local orchestra, and so we're going to have Dina conducting again. And if we take the show on the road, it's going to be with local orchestras, but hopefully it will always be with Dina because we spent a lot of time building the show.
Voivod, Michel, has always pushed boundaries in the musical aspect. From many classical works that you mentioned in the history of the band, like example from Killing Technology to Nothing Face and beyond. Do you feel that Symphonic represent another important milestone in the band evolution?
It's definitely the highlight of my career,
Mhm.
and the only thing left for us, I guess, would be to do a soundtrack for a sci-fi movie. Or I last year I read a book called Nuclear War, a scenario. It's a very scary book, and if there is a movie made from that book, we would be the perfect band to do the soundtrack, that's for sure. So that's our next dream, but we have a lot of work. We have a lot of projects in the works right now. We have a video game coming out called Nuclear Warrior, and it's based around the end of the 80s, early 90s visuals of video games, and even the music is turned into like 8-bit or 16-bit music, and the Voivod music. I mean, we also have the documentary We Are Connected, will be released soon, about the whole career with a lot of archives. We just released the book, more than 500 pages by Jeff Wagner, Always Moving. So there's always things in the works, but we are mainly between tours right now because we have one in Europe for 3 months, and then the fall will be in USA. But in between touring, we are writing and recording a new album, but we can only do 3 songs at a time. That's all we can afford between projects right now. So it's only gonna be ready next year. But right now, people can enjoy the live album with the orchestra, though.
Okay, I have a quick curiosity about this special project now with the Symphonical live album. After the success of this symphonic performance that you captured in this live album, I don't know, Michel, if the people can say, okay, it's possible, it's very possible that Voivod bring this show to more cities and another parts of the world or some special festivals in the future?
Yeah, that would be amazing. But then again, the only way we can do it is with a local orchestra, because even like I remember when Emerson, Lake and Palmer came to the Olympic Stadium in Montreal, and I think it was 77 or so, and they were touring with an orchestra, and they went bankrupt. So imagine. But I saw Asia live in Bulgaria, the album Symphonia, and with the local orchestra, and that's the way to do it. And hopefully we're getting offers, and hopefully we can make it happen. That will be really, really amazing. The only thing that the local orchestra needs to do is to rent the charts from the Montreal Symphony Orchestra. That's what the Quebec Symphony Orchestra did. So it's going to be exactly the same show that you have on the live album, because it would take a couple of years to build another show from scratch. The only thing that we try to change is the visual behind the stage for every show.
With several classical albums are reaching important anniversary zones. In this case, I looking forward to spell name the name of the album. In this case, Roar. Tours 14th anniversary. In this case, Killing Technologies reaches 40 in 2027. And of course, 14 celebrates 20 years. Are there any plans for special editions, reissues, archival releases, or even anniversary performance around these records?
Well, we right now we are working on releasing the Jason Newsted albums, the self-titled
Uh-huh.
Infini and 14, and eventually it'd be great to have a box set with the Eric Forrest years. There are a couple of picture disc reissues in the works coming out soon. Um, Pretty much every year for Record Store Day, we have a special release and an anniversary album. And so, yeah, I work full time on Voivod every day, and for like 43 years now. And so there's so much catalog, it's insane. And some of it needs to be released on vinyl for the first time. Like the Warriors of Ice live album has never been released on vinyl. So trying to find licensing deals for all that material.
Michel, what message do you want to send for all the people that enjoyed this interview? Thank you so much for your time to your house. And we looking forward to talk again in the future for Conexión Rock Radio and give continuity the history at that a great band like Voivod offer music for the people around the world. And of course, again, congratulations for this new album, this live show. You're the best, sir.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think you said you're from Honduras.
From Tegucigalpa, Honduras, the main city.
Yeah, hope really we really want to play there someday. It's you know people in Central and South America are really enthusiastic at the shows, as you know. So I will make it. We'll make it to your neighborhood one day.
I mentioned to you there are a lot of people that know the existence of the band that have many records here in these countries, like example Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica. There are a lot of fans that know your music. We're looking forward in the future that you came and made up tours. I enjoy a big time with the people.
Yeah, we're working on it. There are many places we haven't been to yet, and we're on a mission to go everywhere.
Ok, damas y caballeros, pues ustedes aquí han disfrutado de esta amena entrevista, nada más ni nada menos con Away, que es el nombre artístico que tiene aquí nuestro invitado, que es Michel Langevin, que es el baterista de la banda Voivod. Así que les invitamos en la descripción, si ustedes quieren tener este material en físico, pues ahí les vamos a dejar el enlace para que puedan comprarlo en cualquier parte del mundo, o si no, en su canal de Spotify para que puedan disfrutar de la experiencia y que se motiven en comprar este nuevo material, ya sea en formato de CD o formato de vinilo doble.